All right, good evening. It's 6:30. I call this meeting of the Board of Park Commissioners to order. Betty, will you please take roll?
Alderperson Sharon Kundiger.
Here.
Alderperson Ledvina.
Here.
Alderperson Esterkan.
Here.
Randy Soki.
Present.
Jim Kneisel.
Here.
Melissa Thiel Collar.
Here.
Elizabeth McMasters.
Here.
Connor Mason. James Liga.
Here. We have quorum. All right, item number 2 on the agenda, public comment on matters not on the agenda. Comments made during the public comment period shall pertain only to matters under the jurisdiction of the Board of Park Commissioners. Is there anyone who wishes to address the board about matters not on the agenda? Moving on. 3 items. Number 1, welcome to new Board of Park Commissioners member Elizabeth McMasters. Welcome aboard.
Thank you.
We're glad to have you. We've been waiting for someone. We've been waiting for you. We won't say how long, and I'll be nice to the mayor. But we're glad you're here. Thank you.
Thank you.
Item 2, consideration and possible action to approve the Board of Park Commissioners minutes from the January 16th, 2025 meeting.
So moved. Second.
Discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Sounds like he's underwater.
Motion carries. Next item, consideration and possible action from the Celebrate De Pere Committee for using and waiving the fees for the Nelson Family Pavilion for Celebrate De Pere. Marty, do you want to give us a little background, or should we invite?
Well, I mean, I can give you a background not much different than the memo that I provided to you. Historically, the city has waived all of the fees that came with the rental and use of the park for Celebrate De Pere. We normally wouldn't even bring something like this back, but with our policy, anything that is substantially different than the original rental, we need to come back to you. So it would be weird to charge them for the Nelson Pavilion and not everything else. It would just be inconsistent with how we've treated it. So from the staff perspective, it makes sense to follow what we've done in the past and waive the fees.
Got it. We have some folks from Celebrate De Pere here. I don't know if we'd like to hear from them or if we want to just start our discussion and see where it goes.
Do you want us to move on it?
Yeah, should we?
I'll move to approve.
I'll
Thank you.
second.
Thanks. We have a motion to approve and a second discussion. Shayna,
I guess I'd be curious as to how they're planning to use the pavilion. So maybe we should open up a meeting.
I'm open for that.
Okay, I'll move to open the meeting.
I'll second that. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
The motion carries. The meeting is open. If some representatives from Celebrate De Pere wish to step forward, please state your name and address for the record, and hopefully we can have a really nice discussion and dialogue.
Gerard Ambrosius, 1155 Meadowview Lane, West De Pere.
Amy Kean, 1925 Charles Street, East De Pere, or De Pere.
Thanks. So I don't know if you heard Alderperson Ledvina's question. How do you plan on utilizing the Nelson Pavilion during Celebrate?
So I am in charge of our, what we call our VIP, or our sponsorship oasis. So the sponsors, corporate sponsors or other sponsors that help support us at Celebrate De Pere, they are given tickets to come into this VIP area. And so that's what we would use it for, to kind of showcase the building to those that support Celebrate De Pere. And again, I think it's a great opportunity for them to see how it can be used, for their own private use outside of that event.
Other questions for Gerard or Amy?
And then I would just assume that the public bathrooms would still be public. That would still be all accessible with that kind of use.
I guess, yeah.
Marty?
So with our agreement with Celebrate De Pere, our external bathrooms are closed for the event.
Oh.
So, because they bring in portalets, which honestly, from the city perspective, we prefer simply because
More
of
manageable.
potential for damage, graffiti, vandalism, et cetera.
Yep, got it. Sounds good.
I would say personally, like, if we could have access to the two that are on, like, the two that are on the bowl side, we would take care of keeping those clean during the event as well and making sure that they're cared for.
Yeah, we
I don't know if
can.
that's an option, but-
Yeah, as we get closer and talk, I know we talk quite a bit back and forth, so we can go through all of that.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Thanks. Other questions?
Chairman?
Jim, go right ahead.
Oh, okay. I favor this waiver. They Celebrate De Pere does many great things for the city of De Pere. It's a wonderful event. I would just ask you to consider that for many people in De Pere, this is going to be the first opportunity to see this pavilion. That's relatively new, and thousands of people are going to come on. I just feel like it sends a bad message to close it off to just VIPs, given that lots of people are going to see it for the first time and want to access it and use it. And I'll approve of this either way, but I would ask the committee to consider that it would be better to have this for use that where anybody can access it and not get there and say, oh, gee, I can't even see the inside of this, or I can't go on the patio. I just feel like that would be better, and that's just my 2 cents.
Thank you, Jim. Any other questions or comments? Thank you for coming tonight. Thank you for bringing additional representatives. And I can speak only for myself, but Celebrate De Pere is a wonderful community event. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'll make a motion to close the meeting.
Please. You did? All right. I'll second it. There's been a motion to close the meeting. All those in favor of closing, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
Sorry, Jim. The motion carries. We're back in closed order.
So we have a motion.
We have a motion, so if there's no further discussion, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right, the motion carries. Thank you. And next item up. Somehow I got kicked off the internet here. Item 4, consideration possible action to change cancellation policy for community center. Thank you, Betty. Community center rentals. Paula, would you like to give us a little background on that?
Sure. Right now, our cancellation period is 2 weeks, and they get a full refund. But with our new system, Civic Rec, we are unable to take in any more online reservations. So basically, somebody can look online, see what's available, and then reserve the facility. With that 2-week period, rentals are not available online. So what we'd like to do is increase that to a 30-day window. That gives us at least 2 weeks if somebody does cancel, gives us 2 weeks for somebody else to look online and reserve the facilities. Doesn't happen very often, but this at least gives us some opportunity to re-rent the room that was canceled. So,
Thanks, Paula.
you're welcome.
Questions for Paula?
I have a question.
All right, go right ahead, Melissa.
So when someone cancels, it doesn't feed back into the system that it's available, so someone could see in that 2 weeks?
No, not within the 2 weeks, because we do schedule facility attendance. So it's a choice by us, but we need enough time to be able to schedule somebody and make sure we have somebody to look over the rooms and all of that. So it's just easier on staff's end. But I mean, it would go back that it's available. Like, we will see that on our end. So if somebody would call, then we would know that it's available. But it's not available online.
How is that
day.
different from what, so someone with whatever system you're using now cancels with 2 weeks to go, how is that different? What is the different procedure before this system?
Well, before the system, I mean, right now, if they cancel with 2 weeks, we give them a full refund. So it really doesn't allow us much time to re-rent a room. You know, so.
Additional questions? All right, all those in favor say aye. Oh, we don't have a motion, do we?
We don't have a motion.
We don't have a motion. Shame on me. I was so ready to roll. Sorry, I'm still fighting with the internet on my device. I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
Jim, I'm sorry, I forget to sometimes look up. Do you have anything you'd like to add on this?
No.
All right, if there's no further discussion, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
The motion carries. Next item up, item 5, consideration and possible action to approve a late fee policy for Kids Zone and summer camp programs.
I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
Any discussion on the motion? All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed?
Aye.
The motion carries. Paula, does this happen often?
No. Prior to Civic Rec, what we used to do was automatic drafts. So we automatically drafted out of the accounts that they provided for us. With the new system, we can't do that. So we basically send them an invoice and then they need to go on and pay. And Cindy has experienced a few people as of late, since September, that it's been an issue. And September is when we first implemented the Civic Rec system with that. So, so we thought by implementing some type of late fee charge, that would help, make people be more responsible in that. And then I know our admin assistant, it is a lot of her time to follow up with people and keep track of it, so.
Thanks. Next item up, item 6, consideration possible action to approve adding Voyageur Park as a summer meal program location on the east side. To get things started, I will move to approve.
I'll second.
All right, discussion. Shayna.
Marty, so I received comments from a few people from the district, and they kind of indicated that the city might not really be in support of this move. But then I read the memo and I'm like, well, I'm not getting that feeling at all. So if you just wanted to speak to that.
You're chuckling, I'm chuckling. I would say over the last couple of days, there seemed to be some buzz. People were calling the mayor, some of our council members, sending letters of support, which I gave to you. Mm-hmm. And I have no idea where an indication came that the city would not be in support of something like this. Okay. The reason that we're doing it is because it's an allocation of resources and a significant allocation of resources. But we've done it in the past. I don't know why we would do it again. It's a wonderful program and it's something we can help and support, but it's not something that I can just say, yep, we're going to do. Right. So we need to go through the channel. So I don't know why anyone was thinking that we would not be in support of it, but we just simply have to go through the channels.
Sure. And so when you say a significant allocation of resources, is that just for the extra garbage pickup? Or?
Yeah, because what happens normally in a park setting, we pick garbage up anywhere between 2 and 3 times a week, depending on activity. With the meal program, we actually have to be there every day due to the amount of refuse that occurs.
Okay.
So
that's pretty significant.
Yeah. But again, it's for the good that comes out of the program. I think it's wonderful.
Okay, good. Actually, one more thing.
Yep, go ahead.
Is there any way we could look at putting some bike racks up by the playground this summer? Maybe to accommodate more of I think a lot of people will be coming on their bikes for the meal program.
I will make a note.
Thank you.
Other discussion? Jim, you want to say anything?
No.
Just trying to make sure I don't lose track of you out there in the virtual world. Seeing no further discussion, all those. You're welcome. Seeing no further discussion, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion carries. Next item up, item 7, consideration and possible action to approve the Adopt a Launch program at Perkofski Boat Launch.
I'll move to approve.
Thank you.
I'll second.
Thanks. Discussion. Marty, do we have one of these at any of the other boat launches?
Yes.
Okay.
We actually have them at the other 2 boat launches, this would be our third.
Thanks. Any further discussion or questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
Sorry, Jim. The motion carries. Item 8, consideration and possible action to approve the playground proposal for Rainbow Park.
So, Randy, if
Yes.
I could, just to kind of start the conversation off, in your packet, you obviously have all of the proposals. You also have information that we received back from the community, which is incredibly valuable on what the city appreciates with the proposals. From the administrative aspect, I want to go through some of the things that I think are important in picking out a playground. So, and some of the things are addressing some of the comments in the community input in the survey. So, I put it up here, kind of my notes, but I'll just go through them. With the community comments, there was a fair number of people wanting additional swings. You have probably seen that. That's probably not realistic. And what I mean by that is we have 5 swings already. In order to have another swing, we would need to go to a third, possibly a 4th bay. When you do that, the cost isn't in the swing, it is in the port in place, which goes for about $18 a square foot. So if we were to add a bay, while I'd have to really sit down and calculate it, you're probably looking at the neighborhood of anywhere between $5,000 and $10,000 to add another bay, not because of the swing set, but because of the amount of port in place that's required for fall surface. So we do our best, and the 5 swings that we have are consistent with other playgrounds that we have that are in this size. People want a canopy's shade. While we fully appreciate and understand the need for shade, we try to accommodate that via trees. We understand that shade, we could look at a fabric shades over certain things. We're not a big fan of them, even though we have some, but they're in our real heavy, so Voyageur, VFW, they're high maintenance for us. We have to, we haven't had to replace them yet, but they do tatter and weather, and it's probably not something that we want to do in a smaller setting that we have. The other option you would have would be a permanent type of structure, but now you go from, a $1,500 canopy to more like a $5,000 addition, for a roof structure over something. Well, now we're getting out of budget. More than one bench or more benches. So almost all of our proposals only have one bench, but there is one proposal that has 2 benches. We typically don't put a big emphasis on benches for a couple of reasons. One, we like to keep the playground open so that people have the opportunity for memorial benches. We have a very popular memorial bench program. We constantly get calls, and it's an avenue for people to have a memorial bench in a meaningful place, and then it allows us to put the extra money into the playground. The other reason is we also put picnic tables out there. Sometimes people don't like where the bench is, so they take the picnic table, put it where they want it. So that's why we don't have a lot of benches in our playground proposals. Other comment was a lot of climbing stuff. This is a paraphrase. A lot of climbing stuff is not conducive to younger children. I'm going to say that's accurate. So there's one proposal in particular that does have quite a bit of climbing aerial type things. You're not going to have a 2 or 3 or 4-year-old, playing on the monkey bars like a 8 or 9-year-old would be. So, however, keep in mind that this playground equipment is a 5 to 12-year-old structure. That's what it's designed for. As much as we like to, you're going to have 2 and 3-year-olds who want to be there. But so those are just comments in countering some of the comments from our survey. Now, when it looks at the proposals, I am not going to say that we should pick one proposal or the other. What I want to do is go through kind of some key points of proposals where I think some proposals basically weed themselves out. So, Lee Recreation 1, and what I'm going to do is this. So this is Lee Recreation 1 option number 1. Our projected cost for this playground is $143,000. I'm going to take a half step back. Our approved budget is $150,000. It's about an estimated 2,941 square feet. It has 15 total play events, 6 elevated, 9 on the ground, and 1 bench in their proposal. This one is Lee Recreation option number 2. This one, the projected budget is $146,000. Estimated square feet is 3,100 square feet, has 19 total play events, 6 elevated, 13 on the ground, and 1 bench is proposed. This is MWP is Minnesota Wisconsin Playground. This is their option number 1. The reason I'm going through this is because there's a change compared to the information that you have in your packet. Originally, they were slated for 3,600 square feet. However, something didn't look right, so then the rep got a hold of me and said, it's wrong. It's actually 3,150, so 3,150 feet. So the projected budget for option number 1 for MWP is $142,000. That has 19 total play events, 10 elevated, 9 on the ground, and this one actually has 2 benches in their proposal. MWP option number 2, which is a little bit non-traditional, that comes in at $149,000 projected, 3,289 square feet, 18 total play events, 10 elevated, 8 on the ground, and 1 bench proposed. This is the proposal from Northland Recreation. Our projected budget with this one is $151,000. Estimated square feet is 3,400 and 19 total play events, 11 elevated, 8 on the ground, and 1 bench. So I will go back to, again, I want to be careful about suggesting one option over the other. But if you look at Northland Recreation, granted, it's not a whole lot, but they are over budget compared, to almost every other one. MWP, option number 2, they are just under budget, but I would tend to rule them out due to the community survey. It was not looked highly on. Apparently, the city of De Pere residents are not ready for non-traditional yet. That's about what I would interpret. The other one, the other 3 options I think are very, very viable options. The one caveat that I would throw out there, and it's related to the comment that you saw in the community survey, Lee Recreation number 2, which is this one, has quite a bit of the playground as climbing/aerial. So that would go against having a large number of younger children being able to effectively use it. It's going to be really tough for a 3-year-old to be climbing on this or this, or over here.
It'll be tough, Marty. It'll be tough on the parents trying to watch
Yeah.
the kid.
Hold them up.
Well, we will have port in place, so they'll bounce a little bit.
Right.
But again, a very good proposal that was liked by the community. As a matter of fact, if you look at the community survey, that received the highest vote total. But it does counter or contradict some of the comments that came forth. So I think there's 3 proposals that are legit for you to consider. And if you look at the 3 options, it's Lee Recreation 1, Lee Recreation 2, and MWP 1. MWP 1 right now, interestingly enough, probably had the lowest vote total from the community survey, but it's the best when it comes to the projected budget and has the most total play events, and it has the most benches. So I'm just trying to make it difficult for you.
Yeah.
So I guess I will entertain questions or however you want to proceed. I just wanted to give you an administrative summary.
I've got a question for you, Marty. Do you have an idea about what the current square footage is at Rainbow Park?
It's about 3,000.
Thanks. All right.
Go for it.
So comparing, sorry,
My bad. Go ahead.
comparing the top 2, which were the 2 Lee proposals, right?
From the community survey.
Right.
Yes.
Because that's what I was coming in here. Give the community what they want. But comparing those 2, I guess, with your concern about the one that got the most votes, with having a lot of climbing, what is the second one? That's the second one. Well, technically the first one, right? 'Cause that was
It's option 1, but it came in second.
Yeah.
place.
Okay.
So there's that green thing on the ground,
Yeah.
which is kind of neat.
Those are fun.
And-
Randy, I think we
Randy.
might, could I make a motion
There's-
to open the floor? I think there's
Yeah.
someone here to speak.
Sure. I'll second it. All those in favor of opening the meeting, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
Thanks.
That's it.
The meeting's open. I think it was a delay. I'm certain.
I think there is a delay.
I apologize. You're probably Melissa.
Yes.
Signoretti?
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
If, for the record, please, if you would just, again, for the record, state your name and your address. I apologize. I didn't grab the speaker's
That's
list.
okay.
Okay.
Thank you,
So
Joe.
Melissa Signoretti, Anthony Signoretti, 1102 Tanager Trail. So we live right across from the park, and we've been there for, I don't know, about 8 years. And our park is heavily used by a wide range of kids, but we also do a lot of like community and neighborhood events there too. Yes, we have a lot of kids. So part of some of the things that I had that were a little concerning with some of the plans, and it's sad to say there's an opportunity for vandalism with some of them. So like the covered structures, I can't tell you pretty much every summer that we spend underneath our current covered structure scrubbing off nasty words, stuff like that shouldn't be there. So that was like kind of a concern. But also, yes, like even the option 2 that did have a lot of climbing stuff, I was the one in the community that did mention about my physical therapy background. And I see option number 2 as an awesome option. Yes, even some of the littler ones, yes, maybe the parent needs to be there a little bit more proactively to be like, okay, are you going to climb? Are you going to be okay? But also having a certain little level of, I don't want to say risk, but it is kind of a level of risk. Kids need that, and they need to be pushed a little bit. So I see the other options as being almost a little bit more on the conservative side. And in our community too, we do have like kids that aren't just 2 and 3. We got kids all around from blocks away that come to Rainbow Park that are teenagers, which is like, hallelujah. Thank goodness they're actually coming and doing flag football pickup games, and they're utilizing the park. So it's nice to see teenagers there too, even though it goes to 12. We have an older crowd too, not just itty bitties.
Jackson's like 15 now.
Yep. So I would say, not to say like one over the other, but when I talk with the other kids in the neighborhood that are in that middle age range, which it's so nice to see them off devices and not sitting in their home, I want them to use the park. I'm like, stay. And I feel like if we go a little bit on the more conservative side, they're not going to be there as much. It's going to be a lot more of the little itty bitties. I want them to play too, but I think, option number 2 is good. I mean, those little ones, it's okay for them to try a little bit and to push the limits because that's how they grow and develop.
Thanks.
We'll take all comments to you.
Yes. Oh, yes. Another thing that he did want to mention was we had a lot of pull too, like with talking with the other kids, like seeing one basketball hoop. Because a lot of kids do travel down to Optimus, which is okay. But even some of the younger ones, we don't necessarily want them traveling all over past Erie to Optimus, and then you don't know what kind of crowd is there at Optimus.
Well, Erie's Erie.
Yeah, Erie's Erie. So that would be kind of cool to have that there. There's a lot of kids in the neighborhood that play basketball, and a lot of our driveways are a little inclined. So that was another point too.
Well, thank you. Thank you both.
You're welcome. Oh, yes, and we also talked about Gaga Ball Pit. That was
Yeah.
another one in the community too. I know there's endless.
Right, and the tough thing is we have a small amount of space there.
Yeah.
And, from being a parent who used to walk our kids there many years ago,
Yeah.
the green space is nice too, and the more you cut into it, then you lose the flag football and you lose the other things.
Yep.
But right now, the focus tonight is on the playground piece.
Yep.
But thank you for your input.
Yep, you're welcome.
Anthony, thanks for coming.
Yes, thank you.
I'll move to close the floor.
I'll second that. All those in favor of closing, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? James, did you have anything to add?
Yeah.
Thanks.
I just had a question for Marty regarding the age range that we chose of 5 to 12. I'm just wondering how you determined that we needed a park in that range, besides the fact that the community is decently.
Well, the industry standard is play equipment for 5 to 12 or pre-5. So basically 3 to 5 years old. So 3 to 5 is incredibly small, type of equipment and doesn't fit the majority, if you will. So pretty much all of our playgrounds throughout the city, with the exception of Voyageur, which we have both. So all of our playgrounds at the city are 5 to 12-year-old structures because that fits the majority. But at Voyageur, we actually have a 3 to 5-year-old structure in addition to our 5 to 12.
That's a good question. Any other discussion?
I want to just maybe make a few comments. I studied a couple of these pictures quite intensely as I just am getting out of the toddler stage and going up into this more to 5 to 12-year-old. And so we've gone to a ton of parks, and at first I immediately thought, oh, I don't know about that one, when we were talking about this Lee number 2. But the more that I've looked at it, I see a whole bunch of structures that are low to the ground that I see these little toddlers hanging onto and holding onto as they're learning walking skills. And it's not just in one spot, it's all over. And then, I started to look at number 1, and I see toddlers having to climb up higher to go to a slide, and then you have a parent going up into those structures. And I know that I don't love doing that myself. So the more that I kind of looked at them, I think that I love all of your comments about for the older children, and I've been to a ton of the different parks around De Pere, and I don't think we have something like this, if I really compare all of the different parks. Voyageur has, both ends of it, but I can say that my kids would be really excited to see something like this. So the more I thought about it, I saw how toddlers and babies could actually probably use this. And if you look at the second, the upper picture of it, I see how a little kid could go up and down that all themselves. And so I actually really liked that one in the end.
Yeah.
So just food for thought.
Already putting in your value. Meeting number 1.
Well, I've been there. I feel every mom in this process. This is a hard decision, but that's what I see.
All right, I'm going to make a motion to approve Lee option 2.
Perfect. Second.
which is the blue and gray one that Marty's showing, right?
With your motion, do you want to address colors?
It's our favorite topic.
Well, it is called Rainbow Park.
No, it is called Rainbow Park. You're right. Ah, great point.
It has to be as rainbow as possible.
I mean, if you want, you can defer the colors to, say, next month's meeting, and we can bring in some samples, or you could just direct staff to do it, or however you'd like. But at some point,
Is there
address the colors.
We bring it.
Oh, there's a spectrum of colors, I'm guessing.
Yeah, there's
based
an
on
endless.
Yes.
They're not in here?
No.
Can you bring back pictures?
Yeah.
Bring back color
Options.
schemes, right?
Options.
The color combos.
Yeah.
We can do that.
I do think rainbow
But one
is a
including
good
a
idea.
rainbow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That doesn't delay anything, does it? Like
No,
schemes or anything?
no.
No. Okay.
No.
What's our timeline on?
Well, the
placing?
playground itself. So while this part is exciting, I hope, the community, hopefully will understand that this is not an overnight project. So more than likely, this playground will not be up and running until probably, and realistically, somewhere middle to end of September. And then we will take the playground out probably in the neighborhood of like July 1st, because we have to excavate, we have to put sidewalk in, playground has to be installed, then we have to coordinate the port and place surface. It's a tremendous amount of coordination with contractors that are overbooked. So it's a very long process.
All right. Thank you for that. Any further discussion on Lee option? Did I get a second on Lee option 2? Okay, thanks. All right. Any further discussion on Lee option 2? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay.
He said aye.
That's all right. I'm like, I think so. Any opposed? The motion carries, and of course, Marty, in that motion, I think is the caveat that you're going to bring color schemes back to us next month. And
Yep. Roger.
And if the community wants to send Marty their comments on colors, he would love to collect those.
Thanks, Randy.
You're welcome, Marty. Let's see. Next item up on our agenda is item 9, consideration and possible action on approving a park naming policy. We have a member of the public who would like to speak on this issue. Maybe we should start with listening to Mr. Nix's comments.
Sure.
I'll open the meeting.
I'll second.
Thank you. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, the motion carries. We're in open session.
Usually I get one or two opposed.
No.
Oh, wait, it's Joe. Hold on.
Yeah. Okay. I'm Joe Nix. I live in the Wilson Park neighborhood at 227 Bell Avenue. I've got a couple comments about the naming policy. As far as I know, we've never had one before, and everyone's just sort of used judgment, and it's kind of worked out. I've got a couple observations about the situation as it stands. By my count, the park board has jurisdiction over, I think, 38 named parks and facilities. And the two things I noticed is that you've never named anything after a woman, which is interesting. And the second thing is that you've never sold the name of a park. In other words, all the parks are named after service groups or after individuals who were honored by the fact they were great people in DPR, not because they gave money. So the first observation I have is that in the general criteria, for the most part, they're pretty good and they're pretty obvious. But the thing that stands out to me is that it opens up this whole idea that you could name the park after a donor. And there's even like a 50% criteria there. As far as I'm concerned, I don't want to see that. I mean, if Randy Soki wants to give $1 million for a new park, I wouldn't give it to them. I think we should go back to the traditional way of doing things and not put the naming of parks up for sale. Now, the other thing that I was concerned about in this that is new is that at the bottom you talk about the issues relating to renaming parks. I don't know that has ever come up, but it is a topic that is somewhat interesting to me because I'm interested in Wilson Park. I mean, for what it's worth, Wilson Park, in terms of a name, is an outlier in this community. In De Pere, we don't name things after dead presidents or politicians from Washington, D.C. They tend to be local. There's a particular history as to why this was named after Woodrow Wilson after World War I, but the fact is it's a little bit different. For me, it'd be better at some point in time, if the park is improved, to think about a name change. And it could be a number of things, but I'm very partial to James Hughes, who really was a very significant guy in this community. Just, I mean, really great, not well recognized, but someone who deserves recognition. If you look at the criteria that is laid out in the first part of the policy, you say, well, does Woodrow Wilson meet any of those criteria? Well, no, he doesn't. But James Hughes meets a lot of them. So if you were starting from scratch, you'd say, well, James Hughes would be a great name for the park, but under these criteria, Woodrow Wilson would not. On this one, I'm not the only one who has thought of this. I see that Alderperson Hanson is here, and there's been some discussion about this kind of in the background at De Pere Historical and also at Historical Preservation, that this might be something that would be appropriate. You probably need to get to the point that you're actually going to improve the park to do that in conjunction with it, so it'll probably wait, so I'm not asking anything here. The other thing about the renaming policy is that it suggests that it be by a unanimous vote, both of the park board and also by the city council. Just on its own, I think that's kind of a lousy idea, because whenever you require unanimous votes, then you have a dictatorship of one. And I hate to get in a situation, with Wilson Park, that one person could hold it up out of, for tradition's sake. But probably the most important thing is that the way I read the state statutes and the city ordinances, you can't do it anyway. So the way this works is the state statutes dictate how different forms of municipalities operate. So Chapter 62 in the statutes talk about how city government is organized. And under 6211 sub 3, it says majority vote rules, and if it's a tie, the mayor breaks the tie, and that's how things work at a city council. Not surprisingly, De Pere then has adopted ordinances which track those state requirements. So in section 6.2 of our ordinance, it says the same thing. City council acts by majority vote with the mayor breaking ties. So it's been a long time since I've really been in this business, but to me it's pretty obvious that it's a bad idea, and even if it was a good idea, you couldn't do it anyway. So I think it'd be creating a situation here if you approve the policy the way it's written, and then it might just come back around to you. So, thanks for listening to my comments.
Thank you, Joe. Is there anyone else who'd like to address the park board on this issue, since our meeting is open? Alderperson Hanson, come on forward. Although I don't think we need to have it open for him, but we're open, so
Yeah.
maybe, I don't know.
Maybe.
Yeah, Alderman Jonathan Hanson, represent District 2, 922 Silver Street. I would reiterate what Mr. Nix just said about the renaming section. There is a couple of situations where council has to have a 2/3 vote for something, but they're few and far between. And I think starting a precedent where you need unanimous approval for something, I think that is a bad slippery slope to start going down. And regarding Wilson Park, we've had a lot of discussions with the mayor. I'm chair of the Historic Preservation Commission about possibly renaming it after James Hughes, who is former congressman, former West De Pere school board member. He donated the plaque that is now there for Gettysburg Address. And, you know, I can't speak for the rest of the council, but I know the Pere Historical Society has a lot of interest in renaming that park once we kind of revamp it. So hopefully in the budget next year or this year for next year, you know, we'll kind of overhaul that park. We have designs for it, you know, to really revitalize it. And there's been discussions with the mayor too about renaming that park for Hughes. And this language here about like renaming the park discouraged and only under the most critical examination. I think it's just a little bit too strong and too high of a bar to rename parks. So I would personally like to see the renaming section just removed. We can take another look at it down the line if we need to, but as it is right now, I think it's just too high of a bar to rename it with the unanimous vote needed. And some of this language here about only under the most critical examination. I think if there is kind of a strong consensus, even if it's not completely unanimous, that something should be renamed, you know, I think it's something we should consider doing. So that's all I got.
Thank you. Thank you, Alderperson Hanson. I'll move to close the meeting.
A second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All right, Melissa and then Shayna.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So I asked for this policy at the last meeting, and I asked for a reason, because without any guidance, there's nothing to guide the Parks Board as to what we should even consider for a name and what we should be guided by in looking for a name. Unfortunately, we live in the era of budgets are really tight, and so donors are a thing, and donors happen. I think it has to be addressed in the policy as to when we would consider a donor to be named for a park. And I think the language is very good that really this is a small consideration, and this should not be our priority when we're naming a park. I also, in my professional life, have come across where people have proposed to rename things, and absent language, there again is nothing to guide the Parks Board in what should we do if a request has come forward to renaming. I think we can address the concerns by just simply striking B, C from the policy, and that would get at the concerns. And I agree that there probably is a statutory concern about overriding statutory provisions with a policy rather than an ordinance. And but really, renaming of parks should be a last resort, because there were historical reasons and significance at the time, and now you are changing what your predecessors had decided, and there would be a lot of issues with renaming a park. So, thank you.
Shayna.
I was just going to suggest the same, to strike C under renaming.
We don't have a motion, right, Betty?
Chairman?
Jim, go right ahead.
No, I don't see him.
Yeah, I think that my feeling is that whole renaming section should be stricken. I think that we should really, there should be a very high bar to renaming something. You know, 100 years ago when that park started, those people made that decision and had reasons for it. And I just think that should be greatly discouraged. There should be no real mechanism for it, except that in the off case that something serious happened and you felt like the name of a park or a building or anything had to be renamed, that could be addressed on an individual basis. I don't think this wording should even be in there at all. It's not necessary. And clearly, if a situation came up where renaming was obviously should be considered. That could be made at the council level or the board level. I just think it's unnecessary, the whole section on renaming. The rest of it I really appreciate. I think we needed the guidance, and I thought it was a really good idea to suggest that. And I would just say if somebody wants to make a motion to approve it, I would ask that we strike the last section entirely.
Melissa.
Shannon, do you want to go?
I don't know that striking it all is necessary either. I think it's nice to set a framework for it. I agree with the last statement of unanimous approval being removed as a way to make sure that it's something that's strongly considered and then also not, what was the phrasing, dictator of one. I think that covers both bases very nicely, keeping it top of mind that you should keep it as a very high bar. So I'm on board with just removing C.
Melissa.
That's exactly what I was going to say.
Okay.
Also, somebody look into James Hughes' wife. I bet she was pretty cool too. And then we could.
James End.
Yes, yeah.
Mrs.
I bet she was
Mr. End.
awesome. They just didn't write about her.
I know I can't interrupt, but I have thought about the James Hughes family. Because it's-
Right. Yep.
You did have,
We don't need to.
you did have a remarkable family that we
Mm-hmm.
So the chair will entertain a motion if there's one to be.
I move to approve the policy with section under renaming B, C struck.
I will second.
Thank you. We have a motion on the floor with moving the proposed policy with striking the last point under renaming. Discussion. Jim, I can't see you right now because Marty's got a playground on the screen. So is there anything you'd like to say? Thank you, Marty.
No, I don't have anything to say, but I will vote against this with just C removed.
Thank you. Any further discussion? All those in favor of the proposed policy, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed?
Nay.
The motion carries. Item 10, consideration and possible action to approve a 3-year agreement with MultiMedia Channels LLC for brochure advertising, design, and distribution.
Move to approve.
I'll second. Discussion. I just want to point out that in Urbana, Illinois, the Board of Park Commissioners has a statement, their photo, and their signature on the in the brochure. I have no desire to draft such a statement, but it's there. So anyway,
We could work on photos if you want.
nope. Signature would be plenty, but I don't know why I needed autograph the brochure. So anyway,
Be a collector item.
it would be a very big collector item. Huge. Although not rare when you look at the number of coaching certificates I've signed. All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
Aye.
The motion carries. Item 11, consideration possible action to approve K Distributing as the beer distributor for the 2025 beer gardens.
I'll move to approve.
I'll second.
Discussion.
Cheers.
All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? The motion carries. Staff updates. We have quite a few of them tonight, Marty.
Yeah, we can zip through them very quick, though. So we are working on individual sponsors. So if people remember, we have a main sponsor in the Marilex for the beer gardens, but we also provide or offer individual event sponsors. So Immel Construction has signed up for one of the events, IEI has signed up for one of the events, and Grafe has signed up for one of the events. We have more coming, but I can't tell you because they're not on here. So, but there are more coming, and out in whoever's listening out there in internet land, if you are interested in being a sponsor, we are certainly considering. Other update, the Board of Public Works, because it's in the right-of-way, Alderperson Hanson, not here anymore. Alderperson Hanson had requested that the city consider subsidizing the cost of street trees. So if someone would want a street tree, the cost basically would be $100 for the resident. If the tree costs $153, then the city subsidizes that $53 included with the planting of the tree. So that passed, and what we are now to do is incorporate it into the proposed budget. So when budget time comes around, you'll have a chance to look at it. If you like it, great. If you don't like it, we take it out. We do all that wonderful stuff. But we've been asked to incorporate that in our proposed budget. Holiday Light Show, I think I unofficially told you last time, or accidentally let it slip when I shouldn't have, but our Holiday Light Show was a wonderful success. We had about 3,600 cars and about 300 people go through the walking event, even though the local traffic authorities did everything they could to sabotage us, calling what the heck was it?
Tow ban, right?
There was a tow ban, so then our horse-drawn sleigh rides would not come because of that. So anyway, we had a very wonderful and successful event. We are now talking, our agreement with Fox Communities Credit Union is up. I have already met with them, and they are reconsidering re-upping. We'll hear, hopefully next month we'll bring it. Hopefully next month I have a re-upped agreement. Bigger, badder, better.
Awesome.
So we'll see.
Marty, for our friends out in internet land, you are calling for individual sponsors. I see 3 events listed on here. How many beer garden events do we have planned for 2025?
We have 11 events planned for 2025. We are taking individual event sponsors for 9 of them. And the reason for that is we're leaving the last 2 at the end. In the event we have a rainout, then we can transfer that sponsor to the end. So we will look at filling 9 of them. So I think we have 4 more slots, right? 4 more slots.
Got it.
So if you're interested, come quick. Otherwise, they'll go quick.
Okay, we're up to future agenda items. Does anyone want to ask Marty or staff for future agenda items?
We will, next month, you will have a look at the 7-year CIP for the parks. You won't have the opportunity to change much because of timing. It's a long story, but timing, we just got it. I had to turn it in already. So you'll get a chance to look at it and give me some comments. I can try to get it to council before they adopt it, but that will be coming your way next month.
I just have to go back and just say a little bit about the sponsorship program. What you've built over the last couple of years is so cool. It's a revenue stream. It's a community favorite. It is a lot of heavy lifting to manage sponsorships, get all the logos, update the information. You've really done an incredible job.
The whole department. So you're looking at one of them right here.
Yep. I was
Has done
not
a lot.
just talking
Great.
to you,
Yeah,
Marty.
there's an
Broadly
entire.
calling the whole program awesome.
There's a lot of people that make the world that event world go round. But I would agree with you that it's
a
become
lot.
an incredibly wonderful community event.
A motion to adjourn is in order.
I think we should let Elizabeth do the.
Go. By the way,
Okay, so moved.
go USA Hockey.
Move to adjourn. So moved. A move to adjourn.
Thank you.
I'll second.
Thank you. There's an motion, a second to adjourn. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, the motion carries. We are adjourned.